What's up guys, welcome back or welcome to the channel. If you're new, this is my first DIY Halloween tutorial for 2022. These are all of the Apothecary potion bottles that I currently have. Everything I'm showing is exactly from the Dollar Tree. Everything was $1.25 each, and I told you guys in my short that I had a lot of these bottles. There was no need for me to get any more, but they're just so pretty. These are the three that I'm going to be working with today. Two of them are regular, and the other one, the little small one, is from their Crafter Square section in a 4-pack. I also bought this wood from the Dollar Tree as well, and those Crafter Square things where you put the paint at. Everything that I'm showing in this video is from the Dollar Tree, so I don't have to keep saying from the Dollar Tree. The only thing that's not from the Dollar Tree is the paint, like the glue gun, everything that I use, even those parts over there that you see to the right where I hook in my, well, not hook in, well, I put in the pins and all of that stuff that I'm pulling out right now. That is from the Dollar Tree as well. Everything, okay, $1.25, period. These little Crafter Squares art palette, I think there's 6 in a pack, and they're so good because they have 6 little circles. It's just easy to clean if you want to reuse it, and it's also just easy to use. I really like using it, girl. It's just plastic. I'm going to be using the Apple Barrel Territorial Beige. I'm trying to match it to the Spanish Moss that I bought, but it is a little bit too light for it, so I'm going to mix in a little bit of the Apple Barrel Paint in Black just to darken that beige color. I do like the beige color, but it just needed to be just a little bit darker. To paint this, I'm only going to be painting all around the outer parts and in the inside as well. I'm not going to paint the bottom of anything actually. I'm just going to keep the bottom of everything that I use today bare because there's no need for that. Nothing is going to be hanging, but if you do plan on hanging anything, just make sure you paint the bottom of your arts projects. Also, by the way, I know the lighting isn't terrific, but I had my studio lights in the front of me instead of in the back of me because I have my camera set up in the back of me, so you'll be able to see everything. So if the lighting is not everything, excuse that, but everything can't be everything, okay? Especially in this 90-degree weather, we got to work with what we can, okay, baby? Moving on to the next wood while the other one dries. So now I am going to be using that fabric that I showed in the short as well. But before I do that, I am going to take this, what is that, twine or whatever, out. That's what it comes with. So I'm just going to take that out so I don't have to actually cut the holes around. I'll just do it. You'll see it later, but that's what I'm just going to do for now. Also, I have my own that came from the Crafter Square section. So if anything went wrong, I have my own type of twine, whatever it's called, material. Now we get to move on to the fun part. So this is the fabric that I also showed in that short video. I will insert, if I remember, the other fabric that I was talking about that I wanted, but not one Dollar Tree had it. And like I said, I went to about 7 or 8 Dollar Trees, so I know for a fact Dollar Tree wasn't selling it this year unless they put it out closer to Halloween. But I'm going to be cutting out whichever side of the fabric that I want to put on those sides where I took that twine out of. I'm just going to measure it up to it, cut it out. I'm going to use the Mod Podge. You can use gloss, matte, it doesn't matter as long as it, it doesn't, it's going to dry, so it doesn't really matter, but as long as you get something to stick. I was thinking about using a hot glue gun to get it to stick, but the Mod Podge worked fine, and they do sell Mod Podge for fabric specifically, but the regular kind works just as well, so you don't have to go out of your way to buy it. So what I'm just doing is I'm applying it on the fabric, and then I'm also applying it on the wood as well. I'm going to measure it up to the side of the wood that I want it to be on, how I want it to look, and then I'm also going to spread some of the Mod Podge on top of it. I got nervous because you can see, like, when it first goes on, it's a little white, so I thought that I messed it up, but it is going to dry clear. Now for the other side, I'm going to cut out a different design, and I think this one is going to focus on that owl and the bat. And then I'm just going to glue it the same exact way. I went off camera and let it dry. You can see that the white part is gone off of it because, like I said, it dries clear. So now I'm just going to take all of the fabric that's still sticking out and cut that off. That's why I said I just wanted to cut out the part that I was going to be using, but I did leave fabric because you never just want to cut what you think is going to be the right size. Cut a little bit extra, let it hang off. Then once it dries, you'll be able to go back and just cut off the excess. That's your best bet, not to make it too small because you thought what you thought would, but it was wrong. For all the extra wood, I'm going to be painting it using two paints, mixing them together. Both of them are still by Apple Barrel. The orange one is Harvest Orange. This is the orange that I was using during the fall time for my fall DIYs and stuff. See, it's orange, which is pretty, but it's a little too orange, which is why I put in this brown that's more of a red undertone, and this is called Chestnut, and mixing these two together will give a just a pretty brownish, reddish, well, not reddish, where's the red edge? But the brownish, orangish tone. And also, again, I'm going to be painting all on the sides and in the in-between. I'm not going to paint the bottom, but I am going to paint all in the inside as well. I do think that this is a little bit too orange. I probably should have added a little bit more brown than I did orange, but I will go back and paint a different color on certain parts, but I'll show you that in a minute. So I still had some of that brown and black that I mixed together left over from the wood that I painted earlier. I just painted in the middle part. I thought it went good with that spooky sign, but I painted in the middle one, and I also painted it at the bottom as well. You can't really see it because, like I said, my lighting is on the other side. It's like I was really struggling. But yeah, that's what I did because I needed to break up that orange. It was just way too much orange, and then I had a lot of orange that was still in the fabric itself. Now we're going to move on to the bottles that I'm going to be DIYing. And while I do like this pretty blue minty color that this one is, I was going to say that this one bottle is, the other two are clear. But what I'm going to be doing is using that territorial beige. I'm going to be using a little bit too much of it because you do not need to pour out a lot for this part. What I'm going to be doing is watering it down, literally making it look like it's tinted water. And when it dries, it's just going to tint the bottle rather than making it like a full coverage paint job. And I also forgot to mention I am using a brush for this part, a raggedy brush by the way that still has like glue on it, but I'm just going to be using a brush. I think you can use a sponge for something like this, but I didn't want a sponge to soak it up, then I have to keep applying. A brush got me through it. We're going to be moving on to the label part. Now, Dollar Tree is selling these rub-on transfers. This is my first time using any type of rub-on product. I don't even think I've used like an iron-on transfer, but what I did was I cut my own type of label from just like a printer piece of paper. I just cut it out based on how you know, I wanted it to look, and then I also have this eye one as well that I cut out. You're gonna see like what I'm doing, but this was my way of not having to print off like a sticker label or already used label. I'm creating my own label because I want to use these stickers, and if I printed off a label that was already in use, I wouldn't have been able to use these rub-on transfers. I am first going to be writing down what I'm going to be labeling each of these. This first one that is going on the biggest bottle is going to be called Skeleton, and I'll tell you guys why later on, why I'm naming everything what I'm naming, but I'm just going to write it out for now. I am also going to be drawing that double layered border around it that you see on a lot of labels as well, just to give it that added design. I'm going to be doing the same thing that I did to the potion bottles. I'm going to be doing that to the labels and using that watered down brown paint just to paint over the labels like that. I want to give that vintage aspect to the potion bottles, so that's why I am using this watercolor technique to paint over certain things like this. And you definitely want to be careful because you don't want to smudge the writing. But what I did for the writing, actually I didn't even mention it, was I wrote it with a pencil first, and then I kind of went over and next to it with pen, so it kind of gives like a double layered effect. You won't be able to really see it though, but that's kind of what I did for it. For this next label that I cut out in the shape of an eye, I am naming this one Eye of Newt. And then I'm going to paint it and do the exact same thing, but I'm probably going to end up doing that off camera because it's just like the exact same thing, but I'm just showing that I'm writing that name down. Well, I just looked ahead and I don't see the last label that I created, but it's the last little tiny bottle and it's a long strip. I'm naming that one Wings and Bone Dust Things. I guess I didn't press record or didn't know that it stopped recording when I was doing it. But yeah, I'm just letting you know, don't expect it within the next clip. But you know, I'll go back to it eventually. I have footage for over 2 hours, so you know my camera died 5 times. So while I was letting my camera charge, I went ahead off camera and put the holes back through the sides. It took me a while to do this, so that's why I'm glad I didn't do it off camera. But I poked a hole with the back of my earrings as a needle, and then I also poked the hole with the scissors, and it stripped down that thick twine that came with it into one. There was like 3 different pieces, so yeah, it would have took me a while to do it on camera, and my head probably would have got in the way of all the times I did it. So now that all of the labels have fully dried, what I'm going to do is look for the rub on that I want, the sticker that I want to rub onto these papers, and I'm just going to cut it out. Like I said, this is my first time using it. It's really cool. All you have to do is cut out whichever sticker design that you want, take off the white piece, the white back of it, put it down onto whatever you are going to stick it onto, and just rub something hard. So rub your fingernail, rub the back of the scissors like I'm gonna do, and then once you feel like you rubbed enough, start peeling it off gently. Don't peel it off all the way, so if it's not stuck down, you can just stick it back down and keep rubbing. One thing that I found about these stickers is that you cannot put it down and then pick it back up. You know, once it's stuck down, leave it where it's at, or it will mess up the sticker part. It's not like a regular sticker, okay? Trust me. Trust and believe. What I also did was that skull that I glued on the bottom of it, the year that I put on was 2020. I feel like that's the year that everything went bad for everyone. So I feel like that's the best year that you could put down on one of these labels is 2020. So that's what I did. Also, I took the Mod Podge to stick it on, and I stuck it on the actual paper itself, and then I just glued some onto the paper after I did that. For the Eye of Newt label, I seen a rub-on sticker that was an eye, so I thought that this would be the best. And then the last label that I have is not going to use a sticker. I'm going to use a sticker on a different small bottle, but you guys will see that a little later. I have this little small bottle that I'm going to be wrapping around the big bottle, and I'm going to be using the smallest version of that big skull that I use. You can see it right next to it. It's so little and tiny, and this is going to be stuck onto that little bottle. And this is the part where I said to when you stick it down, don't try to lift it back up because it cracked the skull face a little bit. You wouldn't even be able to tell unless you were like really up close on it, but I tried to peel it back up because I didn't mean for it to go down. Yeah, this is not one of your regular stickers. This is something that once it goes down, leave it where it lays. For this next part, I'm going to be taking that plastic skull right there. You can get a 8-piece set of them from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be gluing it to the top of that, the biggest potion bottle that I created, the minty one. I'm sorry I didn't get this part on camera. What camera? You're supposed to be all the way to the left. I was like, I forgot to adjust it. But I'm gonna be hot gluing it. I think my hot glue gun was in the wall because you shouldn't plug certain things on to your outlet. You have to plug it directly into the wall or it'll knock that power out. Trust me, I've been through that. Won't be doing it again. It's like I'm a limit on what I add into these power sources. So I think the power cord was just too far away because it's not long enough. But yeah, I'm going to be hot gluing it. That's what. For the next size bottles, Eye of Newt, I got these things. If you guys remember last year, I did this like cat Halloween tutorial, and I also did a Halloween haul, and I showed all of these little things that I got from Shein. I will link that if I remember that. But I have a front and a back. These are supposed to be earrings. I'm going to glue them back to back so that I can use that as the top of the potion bottle thing like I used for the skull. And when putting something together like this, you only need to put the hot glue on one of them. Put it directly in the middle because when you smush it together, it'll move it around and be more than enough. I was 3 steps ahead from something that I would have done last time. I have this floral wire. Now, I will say it is decent. It's not the strongest thing because it's from the Dollar Tree. Now, then again, I don't know. I've never used floral wire, so I don't know if the ones that you would buy at somewhere like Walmart or Lowe's, Home Depot would be stronger. I feel like this wire is specifically best for wrapping things together, maybe side by side, but I was trying to fit it into the cork and it was bending, so it's not strong enough for you to like shove it into something. And it's also kind of maybe sort of a little weak when standing something on top of it like I'm trying to do with these eyes. It did work, but it could have worked a little bit better, but I did want this thin wire. Something thinner looks better, especially when working with little pieces like this. You don't want some thick floral wire, so I made it do what it did. But yeah, it's okay. For the smallest one, since it's called wings and bone dust things, I'm going to be taking some more of that floor wire, hooking it through that little hook that it actually comes with. It's like a screw hook, so it screws out and it can screw back in, just as long as you don't screw it up, right? So yeah, you're going to just wrap the wire around, and then on the other side I'm going to glue that little bat. Now this is a bat ring like I showed in that Halloween haul. I bought the bag of rings from the Dollar Tree, the 50-piece set that comes with a small ring bat, a small ring spider that you can see over to the right side of the screen in orange, and then a small white skull face. And I'm just going to glue the bat to the end. Now we can start adding the ingredients to the inside of these bottles. For the wings and bone dust things, I'm going to take some white glitter. Now this white glitter specifically does not have any other type of like glitters in there, like colors, such as the green shift one that is next to it. This one is just like white, like pure white. It literally looks like snow. But I'm just going to pour that in there as like bone dust. For the Eye of Newt one, I have these Evil Eye bracelets. These are magnetic bracelets that I got from a Dollar Tree that used to be around the corner at my grandpa's house in New York. I don't even know if they still sell them this way anymore because that Dollar Tree has been closed. Well, I think it's closed down. I can't remember. But I'm just going to cut it because I don't like the magnetic part anyway. So once I finish with this, I would most likely just take it out and, you know, put together my own bracelet. But anyway, I'm just going to cut it. And what I'm going to do here is take a gel type of formula. You want to use that because that's what's going to work best. In this case, I'm going to be using a hand sanitizing gel because that's the only clear type of gel that I have. I feel like something that may work best with an idea like this is like a not hand sanitizing, that's what I'm using, a hand wash, because I feel like hand wash is usually thicker and that will help the evil eyes to float around a little bit better. But again, I didn't have like a clear hand soap, so it just wouldn't have worked out. So that's why I went for this clear gel instead. Now I'm just going to take some of that top twine again, and I'm just going to wrap it around. I felt like it was missing something, so I just wanted to wrap this around the top part of it. For the biggest bottle, I have these bows, and there's 4 in the pack. They have these mini skulls on the front of them that I just pulled off. I literally went to the Dollar Tree to get a couple of packs of these just for the mini skulls since it's hard to find them, especially with detail. I'm also going to be using the Spanish moss and a few other things to help me create this. I'm going to be sticking the Spanish moss inside the bottle, and I do have green moss. I think they call it reindeer moss at the Dollar Tree, but I'm using this type of moss because it's brown. I just feel like it's fitting. I'm going to stick some of the skeleton bones inside there with the moss, and I'm also going to try to make sure that the bones show outside. So the reason that I named this skeleton is because, you know, of course, skeleton, and instead of skeleton I wanted to name it skeleton because of skulls, and then I'm going to be adding 10 of them in here, so I just felt like the name was very fitting, you know, puns all over the place with this, right? So then I'm just going to stick them in here. Now, something I would say about this is that it was very hard to try to keep the skulls facing forward. What I'm going to recommend is very risky, but if you did want to try something like this, you could try to glue the skulls to the moss. then stick it in there, and maybe that could help. But like I said, it is risky because it would be hard to, stick something in there to move them around. But dang, anything's got to be better than what I was struggling to get these to face forward. For that little bottle that I put the mini skull onto, I'm going to be putting black glitter in here. Now, I think I have like 3 different types of black glitter. 2 of them have mostly silver in there, but this one, I think it's just like pure black glitter, and that's what I'm going to be pouring in here. This is one thing that I'm going to be wrapping around the neck part. Now, the next thing is optional. Obviously, everyone wouldn't just be able to go out and get something like this, but I have this necklace that someone made for me years ago. So I just used this. It has fur on it. I thought it was very fitting. Now, this can look a little-ish like the Pirates of Caribbean, but I really wasn't going that route. I was trying to go for the skeletons. But that's the kind of vibes I was getting once I started adding the feathers. But I had to add something else to it. I did buy a pack of palm bones. Now, these palm bones from the Dollar Tree, they are hard. You can't even bend them. And this is the look I was going for as well, to add one of these to the side of it, hot glue it on, and like make it look like there's a hand trying to grab for it. You get what I'm going for? But I could not bend it. Now, another thing you can do is take some, what is that paper called? You know that parchment paper or whatever. I think it's called something like that. Not saran wrap, because that would shrivel the hell up. You're going to take some sort of paper like that, and you can draw a skeleton bone onto that paper, hot glue over it, peel it off, and stick it on. That's something that you can do, but that was just doing too much for me, and I didn't feel like doing that. But if you feel like doing too much, do that. We just gonna throw that whole palm bone incident out and pretend that never happened. So instead of that hard palm bone, I'm going to go in with these foam bones that I also got from the Dollar Tree. You can get a big pack of them as well. Now, as you can see, I did start off by gluing them with the Mod Podge, but it went sliding around everywhere, so I'm going to end up wiping it off. I think I'm going to do the hot glue instead off camera. I didn't film it, but these foam bones can be hot glued. I thought that it was going to like shrivel up or something like that, but it didn't. This Mod Podge, it was just slipping and sliding everywhere. But anyway, I'm glad I got these foam bones, because when I first seen them, I was like, I don't want that plastic. It looks kind of cheap. But boy, am I glad that I did get it, because it did help me to improvise. For the skull at the top, I did paint his eyes and nose black. It came in like I don't know what kind of color that was, in the mouth as well. So I'm going to paint the mouth white and then add a little bit of black here and there for like the teeth. I didn't want to paint the whole thing a different color because I did like the tone of him. The only thing is, because it's plastic, there's like this rigid part in the middle. I would recommend, if you can find like little really small flowers, take some small flowers, glue it in the middle of his head to make it look like a mohawk. I think that would be really cool too, if you didn't want that little plastic part. Make them purple flowers though, or even add purple glitter for Halloween. Now we're moving on to the wood piece. The first wood piece that I started on, I am going to add some hot glue to the bottom of it, only to the bottom, not to the sides, because I'm going to be using that Spanish moss again to apply it down in there. I'm going to be doing it for both wood. Look at how much my hand is shaking, because I'm using my left hand and I'm right-handed, so that's why my hand was shaking so much. But I'm going to be adding the moss down in there. This moss is the messiest thing. Let me tell you, moss is messier than glitter, and that speaks volume, because you know how messy glitter is. But I'll take glitter over moss any day. So what I'm going to do is just glue it and press it down in there. And also, if you plan on doing layers of moss, I would definitely glue in between layers and just press it down, just to make sure it sticks. And I am just turning it upside down to get rid of any loose pieces, and anything that's sticking up, I'm going to cut it off as well. I got this 4-pack of black glitter bats. Now these are clip-on, which is great because it makes it easier. I'm just going to clip them onto the sides where this part is at. I think it's just like a cute little addition to it. It adds a nice element to it. You can also get a pack of glitter spiders that will come looking like the green one. I didn't like how that looked, so I added Mod Podge on top of it. I sprinkled black glitter on top of the green instead, and then I added white paint to the legs, added white glitter on top of that, and then for the body I added some red glitter on top of that to make it look spider-like. I didn't show how I did it in the video because I am going to be doing another DIY where I will show it then. Before we deck this little one out, I do want to say that if you insert it on these little sides over here where the holes are at the bottom, you can slide a wire through and insert those LED lights. Now you can see that the part where you put the battery in is just too big and it would take up too much room. So like I said, if you slide it in from the bottom, you can have some LED lights in here as well if that's something that you're interested in. Moving on to the next little small box, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to add the glue on the bottom part, not getting it on the sides, and then I'm going to add the Spanish moss inside, and then again in layers. If I layer it up, I'm going to add the glue on top of that. And out of everything that I use this moss from today, that's how much I have left. So you get a lot of product in here, and you've seen how much work I did. I have this 2-pack of gold metallic letters that I'm going to be putting on the first storage potion bottle thing. On one side, I'm going to label it potions, and on the other side, I'm going to label it poison. That's the only thing that I thought of to put on here because it's so small. If this is something that you plan on keeping permanent and you have a good place to store it, then you can hot glue the bottom of the bottles. Just move I was gonna say the mulch. It's like, what is this called again? The Spanish what? It's like, what do we use again? You could just move this out the way and then glue it directly to the wood, and that would be helpful. So now I'm just going to go ahead and decorate it with a few of the pieces that I have that I bought. And I finally found a place for those palm bones, so I'll just stick it in here around the bottle. This holographic skeleton coffin is where I'm keeping those foam skull heads, the glitter ones, and I'm going to be using the silver tone glitter for this one since it's darker, and I'm just going to set that in there as well. I'm grabbing one of those spider rings since it's smaller than a spider that I put in there. I'm just going to cut off the ring part. I'm going to take some black paint and paint over this and just stick it in the middle. Moving back onto the small box, I'm going to be taking these 4 mini bottles, potion bottles that I got from the Dollar Tree. These are the mini ones that they're selling. They're selling them in 3 sizes, a little small one, this medium size, and a long skinny one. So I decided to get this size because I knew that I wanted to fit them in a box. Well, I didn't know that I wanted to fit them in a box. I just thought of the box as we moving along, you know. But I decided to put them in a box like this, and I also decided to cut up 4 rolls. All you have to do is just take the white printer paper, just cut them however long you know you're gonna want them, roll them up. What I did was I wrote the name of each category, well, not category, but each name of potion bottle on the end of it, and that's going to be the thing that's showing. So we have like witches brew, wool of bat, unfiltered poison, and spiders web, something like that. I'm thinking of them on the top at the top of my head. I can't see it from here. And then once we roll them up, I'm going to use that twine tweed. I can't remember what it is by the end of this. It's like I didn't spend like 2 hours recording this voiceover, so you have to excuse me, and it is late at night. So I'm just going to tie it around, you know, as like a scroll, like a potion book type of thing. Well, without it being a book, because I don't have a little book, and I don't feel like making a book because I would have to go and buy some material for that. So I'm just going to use this. I'm going to use that method that I did earlier and painted with the like the tinted water paint so it's not opaque. and that's going to give like that old vintage type of look. Out of every bottle I created, my fave was definitely the Skeleton. I love how it came out, and I also love the labels on everything. It just goes to show you that you don't always have to use what is already out there. You can always create your own thing. It may take a little bit more work, but still, look how good it is. And Mod Podge always helps. Also, I want to say, if you don't have any hot glue, if you use E6000 glue, that's another thing that can really hold things together as well. I had E6000 glue, but I used it all up for my Christmas and fall decor videos. I hope you guys enjoy. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next DIY Halloween video.